Yo, welcome back to another video. I've got a healer tier list for you guys for 10.1, so Season 2 for Raid and Mythic Plus. This is mainly going to cover for people in normal and heroic rating and Mythics up to plus 20, because that's more of where my experience lies, but I think a lot of these you will see carry over to Mythic rating and higher Mythic Plus dungeons. These specs are, a lot of them are looking really good, and I also want to say too that these specs you can play up to plus 20 keys for sure. Definitely not normal and heroic rating. You will just see some differences, I think, between the top specs and the bottom ones. There's just some clear outliers, whether that's healing throughput or whatever. So let's explain these tiers real quick. So S, we got gods here, the best of the best specs. There's not a lot of weaknesses to them. They have incredible healing, HPS. A lot of responses to damage. They bring good utility, just whatever it is, or it's easy to do damage. And when you're pushing higher keys, maybe or even in raid, it's nice to have that little extra damage to help out your group. A is awesome. A little bit weaker than gods here, I think, whether that's tuning, whatever, healing throughput, utility that they bring for the Mythic Plus dungeons this season, whatever. Just slightly less, but still a great spot. Good all around. More weaknesses than these other two. C is meh. Clear weaknesses. Maybe not good healing throughput. Struggling compared to these other healers, and they'll struggle in higher content. D is send help. Now something needs to change. Talent reworks, tuning, whatever, because they are in a really bad spot. So let's jump right into it. To kick things off, I'm going to go with Resto Druid and put in A tier. Their hots are insane. Their healing throughput's looking really good, especially with their new tier set. As you guys know, they bring Battle Res, they bring Mark of the Wild, which you're going to want, Stampeding Roar, Innervate. There's a lot of things right there. You also have a lot of things to respond to with Mythic Plus. You know, you can have Cyclone if you want it, Mighty Bash, Incapacitating Roar, Ursul's Vortex, you have Mass Entanglement. You even have an Interrupt. I think they are a little bit more difficult to do damage, which I think is separate them from the top spec right now, top healing spec, but they're really good. Healing throughput's looking amazing. Really easy to pick up too, I think, for beginners, but has a very high skill ceiling if you want to get better at the specialization. Very fun. Highly recommend it. Preservation Evoker, I'm actually going to put in A tier as well for a few different reasons. I don't think they have the same healing throughput as Resto Druid, especially after the small buffs that Resto Druid received, but their healing is significant. They still bring Lust, which is great. You're definitely going to want that, especially if your group comp doesn't have it in Mythic Plus. But I think Cauterizing Flame is going to be so valued, especially if you're pushing higher keys or struggling with certain keys. It basically is a separate Dispel from your main one, but it also can remove bleeds, which is so freaking good. You also have a Mass Root with Landslide, which is really nice. You have a Pressing War if you need that as well to help out with that. You have a lot of responses to single target damage if you need to with Verdant Subrace. You know, AoE. Oh my god, your AoE healing is absolutely cracked out of its freaking mind. You get people out of sticky situations with Rescue. They're just in a really good spot, and I think that I think with this raid, you know, favoring more ranged healers, ranged DPS more so than melee, I think that's why they deserve a spot a little bit different than a couple of these other ones I'm going to put in B tier. So next, let's go with Mistweaver. I think Mistweaver's in an okay spot. I think they're struggling compared to a couple of these other healers with throughput. Fist Weaving looks really fun, an absolute blast, especially they have a lot of passive healing with that, which is really good. You know, they also have Mystic Touch, but I think that Brewmaster is looking so good, you probably don't need it there. Also, with the raid looking like it's more focused on ranged, being a more melee healer with Fist Weaving probably isn't the way to go. But you can spec into a ranged healer, and your throughput is much better, much better. But I do think that you're probably one of the weakest healers here. I'm hoping that they see some kind of tuning changes. I don't know, something that needs to change for this spec to rise up above some of these other ones, because the throughput just isn't the same. But they do, you know, they still have some good things in their toolkit. Like I said, they have Mystic Touch, they have an Interrupt, which is really good. They have Leg Sweep, Ring of Peace, they have Tiger's Lust if you need that. They have Paralysis. They have a lot of things to their toolkit, which could help out a lot of your groups. And like I said, they still can do higher dungeons. But yeah, I don't think that they're to the same level as these other heroes above them. Holy Paladin, I'm actually going to put above Mistweaver, but I think it's a good spec overall. But again, with the raid favoring ranged healers more, I think that it's going to play into it. I think if you're going to choose a ranged healer, you're probably going to choose a ranged healer over a melee healer, especially if you're only going to take a few melee DPS if you're looking for progression or struggling with a raid at all, maybe in heroic rating or mythic rating if you're looking into that. For higher Mythic Plus too, I think it's nice to have a ranged healer as well, especially with a lot of people running melee classes. Is absolutely crazy. Their tier set looks interesting, which is nice, and you do have an Interrupt. I think they're a little bit harder to do decent damage with, which plays into their toolkit, especially in Mythic Plus. But it is nice to have, you know, whether that's Devotion Aura or Ret Aura. They have Interrupt, which is great. They still have a lot of things to respond to damage. You have Blessing of Protection if you need it. You have Blessing of Sacrifice. You have Blessing of Freedom for removing that, roots or snares, Blinding Light for AoE stuns, Hammer of Justice, Repentance for maybe the Incorporeals. Like, you have a lot to your toolkit. A lot of things respond to single target damage, definitely AoE damage. I really like them. I think they're in a good spot. I just think they fall behind a couple of these other healers, especially the healing throughput. Dude, Disc Priest is looking freaking amazing, which I think it's been a while since they've looked this good. Their tier set looks really good. It definitely plays into damage as well as their healing. As you guys know, they have Dispel Magic, they have Purify Disease, they have Mass Dispel, they have PI. There are just so many things they have in the toolkit, which is great. They also have Power Word Barrier. They bring the stamina buff. There's just a lot that they do. They're great for single target healing. They're great for AoE healing. Their damage is cracked out of its freaking mind. I'm not saying that these other healers aren't bringing good damage, but it doesn't sacrifice a lot to do damage and also heal everybody with Disc Priest. It's just really good. I think they have a really high skill ceiling, which could play into them why they might be slightly lower than these other ones. But if you're pushing, if you know what you're doing for Disc Priest for one, but if you're pushing higher Mythic Plus dungeons or maybe Mythic rating, I think you will. Disc Priest brings a lot of value, especially if you want a Priest, but just for the stamina buff. Holy Priest, man, I think Holy Priest is probably right along with these other healers. I think Holy Paladin being the best, Holy Priest being next, and Mistweaver probably being the weakest healer. Again, you're bringing the Dispels. You've got Mass Dispel. You've got a lot of responses to single target damage on your tanks or other party members. You have PI, which is absolutely fantastic. You have Mind Soothe, you have Mind Control, you know, as Disc Priest does, but I just don't think your throughput is to the same level of Disc Priest. I don't think your damage is to the same level of Disc Priest. I'm not saying it's bad, I just don't think it's as good. Especially compared, like if you were comparing, you know, Preservation Evokers, how easy it is to do damage versus Holy Priest. Actually, they're both pretty easy, but they do more damage. They have better responses to this. They have a Bleed Dispel, which is fantastic. They bring Lust, which both of these don't. Especially if your dungeon, maybe Mythic Plus dungeon needs it, or raid, I guess. So I just, and Resto Druid, I mean, all three of these healers are looking so freaking good. It's hard to compare them to these other ones, especially these two being melee. I think that plays into it a lot. Even with Preservation Evoker having less range than these other healers, they're really good with their healing throughput right now. Holy Priest, good spot. Again, like I said, you can play all these healers and, you know, up definitely at the plus 20s in normal heroic rating, but you will see a significant difference between these specs and these other ones. Resto Shaman, guys, I think it is the best healer in the game right now. The healing throughput they have is absolutely incredible. Their damage profile looks good. It's not hard to do damage, which I think is why it ranks them higher up, especially if you're pushing higher mythics. Damage really matters. Even if you're just going at the plus 20 range, it's really nice to have, you know. And raid, you know, it's nice to have more damage there too. But you know, they bring Lust, they have Reincarn, they have Purge, they have Windrush Totem. They have a lot of like group utility they bring to help out their team too. You know, with Capacitator Totem, you have I have a fast interrupt with Wind Shear, which is freaking fantastic. You have a knock up or knock back with Thunderstorm. You have roots or slows with Earth Grab Totem or Earth Bind Totem. You even have Earth to help out with tanks if they need it. There's just so much that you bring. They have good mobility. I think they're the best healer, like by a significant amount. I'm not saying these healers are bad by any means, and we are going to see them probably in the highest keys completed and mythic rating. But Resto Shamans, guys, they're looking so freaking good. Highly recommend playing them. I played a lot of them at the end of season 1. Going to be playing a lot in season 2 for sure. On that note, what healers are you guys going to be playing in season 2? What are you most excited for? What are you wishing for things to change? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm going to be playing Preservation Evoker, I think, Resto Shaman, and Disc Priest. Probably be more Preservation Evoker just because they're looking really fun. So I'm super excited about it. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.